Hey everyone, my name is Zoe. Thanks for joining us. I'm here live with PaleoHacks, and today I'm going to show you how you can make one of my favorite treats, these turmeric protein donuts. Yes, you heard right, I said donuts, but they are different than normal donuts. They are not baked, they're not fried, they are raw, they are no-bake donuts, and they're healthy because we put protein in them, and we will also put turmeric in them. So you'll get a little bit of the anti-inflammatory benefits, you'll get your protein, and these are perfect if you get those 3 p.m. afternoon munchies. I get them a lot. Or if I come back from the gym in the afternoon and I just feel like, oh, I need a little bit of a treat, I will have one of those because they are basically guilt-free. And you know what's in them because we're making them together today, and they're much better than any store-bought treats. But before we get right into it, I just want to give everyone a little bit of time to join us. And while we are waiting, I want to know where you're from. Let me know. Leave me a comment under the video. Say hi, tell us where you're from. And also, I'll show you what we need to make these donuts. I'll pop them in the fridge in the meantime. And if you have pen and paper, grab it now, because I'll let you know what you'll need to make these donuts. So first of all, you'll need cashew nuts, 1.5 cups. Then you will also need dates, roughly 1/2 cup, which is usually around 6 to 7 dates, depending what kind of dates you're using. I will use fresh dates. These are called medjool dates. I love their quality because fresh dates are just really soft and easy to work with. And there's a huge benefit of fresh dates over dried dates because they have lower calories. I think it's roughly half the calories of dried dates. Maybe you're familiar, dried fruit is really high in sugar. So buying fresh dates is definitely worth the money because they have less sugar, they have less calories, and they're easier to work with because they're really fresh and just soft and easy to mold. Then we will need protein powder. Totally up to you what you'll use. I'm using an egg-based vanilla protein powder because that's what I prefer. Then you will need coconut shreds. Sorry, I forgot to mention. You will need only a tablespoon of protein powder, but if you want to add more because you like more protein, it's totally up to you. You can add 2 tablespoons of protein powder and the recipe will still work. Then you will need a 1/4 cup of shredded coconut, a 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla essence. I'm using maple syrup to sweeten, and you will only need 2 teaspoons. And the star of these donuts is the turmeric powder. I'm using a blend, so it's turmeric and already pepper. There's turmeric blended with pepper, so you won't need to add extra pepper to activate the turmeric. If you don't have a blend of turmeric and pepper, simply just put 1/8 teaspoon of pepper into this recipe and you'll be fine. But I'm using a blend for today. That's it. We will also need a little bit of chocolate to decorate our donuts in the end, to put a little nice drizzle on top. I have already melted a 1/4 cup of dark chocolate, and it's in hot water at the moment, so it stays nice and soft, and I will show you how you can decorate them in the end. And before I forget, you'll need one of these. So this is a silicone mold. I got mine off eBay. I know you can also get them off Amazon. They're really cheap. I think I paid $8 for this one. You can order them online. It's a mini donut mold, and it's silicone, so you can easily pop them out. Because raw treats, they won't. If you're using a different pan, it probably won't work. But these ones are really cheap and easy, and you can get them online. So this is basically it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask during the video. I'll try and answer them later. And I would say, let's get right into it. Okay, ideally, if you have a food processor, the easiest way to make the donuts is with a food processor. I am working with a blender, so I'll show you a different version of how you can make it if you don't have a processor at home. If you don't have one, like me at the moment, just use a blender to blend up your nuts. So this is 1.5 cups of cashew nuts. I'll put them in the blender and just quickly blizz them up so they become really almost like a flour. That's it. Grab a bowl, pop in your cashews. I love cashew nuts because they have this beautiful sweet-ish flavor, and you can blend them with almost anything. So if you have a processor, you can pop all the ingredients into the processor at the same time and it will work just fine. If you just have a blender, or not even that, if you just grind your nuts with a nut grinder, you'll be fine. I'll show you what you can do. So in order to make our dates a little bit more soft, I'm just adding boiling hot water. And I'll wait a couple of seconds. The hot water will soften the dates and it will make it really easy for us to use them. In the meantime, grab your protein powder, 1 tablespoon of vanilla protein powder, and add it to your cashews. 1 teaspoon of turmeric, add that too. Quarter of a teaspoon of vanilla essence. Goes in. Then we'll need our maple syrup. 2 teaspoons of maple. Make sure you get 100% maple because there's a lot of fake maple syrups out there, and only if it's 100% pure Canadian maple syrup, you'll get the real deal. Otherwise, your maple syrup might be spiked with normal sugar, and you don't want that. So now our dates should be softened. I'm just going to drain them. And I'm going to show you how you can blend it all together. So you can see the dates have become this gooey paste. And I'm just using my hands to combine all the ingredients. It's a bit messy, but I kind of like hands-on cooking. There's something therapeutic about it. So you can see how the dates are basically binding the cashew nuts and all the other ingredients. It's a bit sticky at the moment, but I haven't added the shredded coconut. That will bind it even more. So my hands are stained. They're already yellow from the turmeric, but that's okay. Just going to quickly wash my hands and then I'll add the coconut. So if at any point you feel like your dough is way too moist, coconut you need 1/4 cup of coconut. You can always add more coconut if it's way too moist, or a little bit, like I said earlier, a little bit of more protein powder. If it's too dry, I would recommend adding another date. I'm saying this because dates are very different. If you end up just getting dry dates because you don't have access to other dates, you will have to soak them for longer, and usually they're a bit smaller than medjool dates. So it might be too dry, and then you need another date because yours weren't as big as mine. But that's okay. It won't alter the recipe. It will just make the dough a bit more softer. And like I said, if it's way too soft and you feel like this doesn't feel right, it's just sticking to my hands, then add a little bit more coconut or a little bit more protein powder and you'll be fine. So now you can see the dough has become much drier. Can we get the camera over here so I can show you? It's a lot more like a cookie dough. And this is basically the consistency you want. So we are ready to put it into our donut mold. I'm just going to grab a chopping board. What I like to do to form these donuts is I grab a little piece, size of my palm, and then I roll it like this, and then I put it into the mold and just press it down firmly to make sure it's all combined properly. And it's that easy. And you just keep going and continue to make these little donuts. I think that would be really fun with kids too. I'm sure they would love making their own donuts. And this is what I like about this treat. It's not hard to make your own, you know, protein bars or protein donuts in this case, because, and then you know what's in them. I don't like at the stores, at the shops, when you get a protein bar and you pick it up and you turn it around and you read the ingredients, and there's so much stuff in it that doesn't need to be in there. And with these, you know 100% what you put in it. You control how much protein you eat, how much sugar you use, and you can totally take control of your own nutrition, and I love that. By the way, if you don't have a donut mold, you can, of course, just turn them into bliss balls, for example. Just roll them up like this. And just roll them in coconut, shredded coconut, and then you have a little bliss ball. That works as well. Or if you want it, you can press the whole dough into a sheet pan and just create bars. Chop them up the next day and then you have protein bars. You can be creative with this. It's totally up to you. I just love donuts. Everything donut shaped is so cute. And I like that. So we made a lot of dough. There's a little bit of excess, which I will just roll up in balls. So it doesn't take long at all to whip them up. So this is it. I will pop them in the freezer for 30 minutes so they can set, and then I'll show you how you can decorate them once they're set. Now they're going into the freezer. Just to give them some time to set. And this little bit of leftover dough I'm just going to roll into 3 bliss balls. You can immediately eat them and reward yourself. So with these, I would just grab a bit of coconut, shredded coconut, put it in an extra bowl, roll them in there, and then you have little bliss balls. You can take them to work, put them in a lunchbox. If you need a little afternoon pick-me-up, there's your snackle. This is how easy it is. Just gonna wash my hands and then we'll go and decorate. I'm using a yellow tea towel so I won't stain it with turmeric. So here are the donuts that I made earlier. I've already decorated a few so you can see how they look when they're finished. I used 1/4 cup of dark chocolate. So with dark chocolate, when you buy chocolate chips or dark chocolate, the ideal quality would be to get raw chocolate, but I know for some people it's really hard to go to a health food store and buy raw chocolate. If you don't have access to raw chocolate, make sure you get chocolate chips or dark chocolate that is soy-free, free from milk solids, free from lecithin, and free from, as much as possible, free from sugar, because we don't want that stuff. It's just extra nasties in our chocolate that we don't want. Chocolate should basically just be cacao butter, raw cacao powder, and some sort of sweetener. All the other extras to bind the chocolate and to make it shelf stable are unnecessary. So I go to a health food store and grab raw chocolate because it's basically just cacao butter and sweetener. Sometimes if I have a lot of time I make my own. But ideally, you can find online chocolate chips that don't have all the other additives in it, and they're much more healthier. So what I have done, I have 1/4 cup of dark chocolate melted, and I put it in this little device, which is basically just for piping. You can use a sandwich bag, put all your melted chocolate in the sandwich bag, snip off the corner, and then decorate your donuts. So I'm just going to test if it's already... Yes, it's melted. So all you want to do is just drizzle your chocolate over. Like that. And you can be creative, add a little bit of coconut, and make them look even cuter. There you have it. These are my turmeric protein donuts. They are paleo. They contain no grains, no dairy. They contain no gluten. They are high in protein. If you add more protein powder, it's even higher. They're anti-inflammatory because of the turmeric. They're easy to make. It took us, I don't know, 20 minutes maybe, not more. And you have your own homemade raw treats that you can eat during the week. You can take it to work for lunches. You can give it to your kids. And I hope you'll enjoy them as much as I do. Thanks for joining us today. Are there any questions?
No, just recipe at the end.
I will post a recipe in the comments just in a second. That's not a problem. And yeah, if you have any other questions, just leave us a message in the comments and I'll try and answer all your questions later. Thanks for joining us and have a good day, guys. Bye.